audience, they know him forever as part of the Met family. He has a book on his A Million Years with the Mets. Mr. Met comes out tomorrow. You can get it at Amazon and a bunch of other places. Jay will tell you where. Jay, welcome. How are you?
My pleasure to be with you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be with you, man.
My
Long-time
pleasure.
friend.
Yes, Jay and I are, truth be told, very good friends. We have been for a very long time. He's a great guy. When I first heard of you, it was when you had this high jumper, the kid that you were promoting. I can't remember his name, but he was an amazing...
Franklin Jacobs, Mike.
Franklin Jacobs. What year was that?
Right in boycott, right in 1979, he set the world's record for jumping over his head. He was 5'6", started out as a basketball player, and he jumped 2 feet over his head, and he beat Dwight Stones at the Millrose game. One quick story is that we were in a track meet in Cleveland, and Franklin used to jump at a backwards J, and coaches weren't allowed on the field, but I was the PR guy. So I stood at a certain place on the track, and when he saw me, he would make his turn inward to the bar. And finally, after 1 or 2 meets, they finally figured out what I was doing. They got thrown out of a track meet in Cleveland.
So that's the first time I remember you promoting anything was promoting him. And then your first year with the Mets was what year, 80?
1980, April 1st, 1980, Mike.
Tell me about going to the Mets. How'd you get the job?
Well, it's funny. There was I got a call. I actually accepted a job to work with Joe Garagiola and Tony Kubek doing stats for them. Do you remember Mike Cohn?
Yes. The PR agency, yes.
Yeah, he called me and recommended me for the job, and then I accepted the job. And about 2 weeks before I was supposed to start, I get a call from somebody. It says, "I'm Jim from the Mets. We heard about you. Joey Goldstein recommended you. Would you want to come in and talk to us about a job?" So I immediately hung the phone up on him. I said, "It was a friend of mine pulled a joke on me." I found out a day later it was a legit thing, and I went down to St. Petersburg, Mike. So it wasn't really what you call a great interview. I was supposed to go to the Westin Hotel, to one hotel in St. Petersburg. I went to the wrong hotel. I was late for the interview, so I'm sitting there. I walk in. Frank Cashin, the GM at the time, was sitting there in his white shorts. I was so nervous, I spilled orange juice all over him. The interview lasted about 5 minutes. I remember going back to the airport. I said, "Mom, there's no way I got this job." And I called her. And 4 decades later, I survived.
Absolutely. Well, Frank Cashin wasn't one to suffer fools either. He wasn't. He was all business, Frank Cashin.
He wasn't happy when I spilled the orange juice. He had white. Remember those little white tennis shorts that came up to your knee and were right over him, and I spilled it right over his lap. And he asked me 2 questions. He said, "What's your interview?" And I called my mother. I said, "Mom, no way I got this job." But back at Fairleigh Dickinson.
And that's 1980. He gets to the Mets. April 1st, 1980. And did you start right away? Were you the assistant, or did you take over?
No, I was the head guy. Arthur Richmond
was there, right? And did you work with him at all, or did you just take over as the boss?
He was my tutor. I became the head guy, but Arthur became the traveling secretary.
Right.
And he took me all over. Arthur had one of the person baseball he didn't know. Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, George Brett. Every time we went someplace, he introduced me. When Torrey was my first manager, so he took me down to Ponte's, with Joe's place in the Village. And Joe was so good to me, Mike. I mean, he till this day he helps me with stuff. So on our first road trip to Montreal, he took me to this tie shop on St. Catherine Street, and he bought me 7 of the ugliest ties ever, and he made me wear them. And look at me, I'm a poor little guy from New Jersey. But the manager of the Mets buys me ties. So I bought the 7 ugliest ties, and I wore them for 7 straight days, and probably after that, I still have a couple of them.
So that's unbelievable. And the thing is, you're so rare in that as soon as a guy came to the team, he was like he was whoever it was. You just took him right under your wing, every single player. So every player through the years has had this special relationship. I can't think of one. Now, I can think of a couple of players, and I won't say any, who weren't the easiest guys to get along with. But for the most part, these players and you had this amazing relationship all these years.
Mike, I tried to treat the 25th guy like the number 1 guy, and I try to treat everybody the same. And whether it's, getting stuff, getting theater tickets, getting Nick tickets, doing anything. And I just try to let them know I cared about him as a person. And thankfully, through the years, I can't think of one bad guy that I've dealt with. Even Dave Kingman lived with me in my house for a year. And when he couldn't find a place to live.
Did you get along with Kingman? We know Kingman was a nice guy. Did you get along with Kingman?
He tried. He really made an effort. When we got him the last time in 1980 or 82, he gave out pens at his press conference. But he wasn't a great fan of the media. But we just hit it off. He didn't have a place to stay, so I was living by myself, and he shared my house with me until he got a place. We rode back and forth to Flushing together.
We're talking with Jay Horwitz. His book comes out tomorrow, folks. You can get it at Amazon. Is that the best place to get it on Amazon, the book?
Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, you can get it.
Okay. Are you going to make an appearance? Oh, you can't make an appearance. What am I saying?
I can. Yeah. I mean, you know what?
Yeah, they would have had you there. You would have been there. You could have gone sign all the books and everything. Well, maybe soon. Maybe soon. But you can get it at Barnes & Noble or at Amazon, which is always an easy place to get everything. It's Mr. Met. Comes out tomorrow, so everyone buy it because it's got all these stories. Okay, they want you to, they're pushing you to tell them all the real crazy stories, all the real. So give us a few that you used in the book, because I don't know which ones. I haven't seen the book yet because you sent it to me, but I didn't get it yet. I didn't get it yet. So here's the thing. Tell me give me a couple that you used in the book.
All right, this is the seventh game, Game 6 of the World Series. I'm sitting in the office with me and Keith. Keith just came in from making it out in the 10th inning. So it's me and Keith and Darryl Johnson, the old Red Sox manager, scout. And I'm sitting there to myself. I said, how in the name of God am I going to rationalize to the press how a team that won 114 games fell 2 games short and couldn't win the World Series? Then all of a sudden, Gary gets the hit. I get up to go to the bathroom, and he said, "Get right down. You're not moving. Your chair's got hits in it." So, I mean, one thing led to another, and Mitchell and Gray and Mookie's ground ball, and the next day we come back from 3-0 down. So the next day was a Sunday, and it was I'm Jewish, Mike, so it was Yom Kippur. So I was supposed to work that night. Not that I'm not a great, I go a little bit.
Right.
So I went to the rabbi who bar mitzvah with me, Rabbi Markowitz. He's passed on. I said, Rabbi, I got a problem. Tonight's the 7th game of the World Series. Is there any such thing as dispensation for going to work? And he said, what do you mean? So I'm going to have to work. He said, well, I can't give you dispensation. I understand. So meanwhile, that game was rained out.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And we played it. We played it on the Monday.
And while your beloved Giants were playing the Redskins the same night, as a matter of fact.
And I actually got in trouble with that, Mike, because I was watching a Giant game in the press
Jay
box.
is a huge Giant fan.
And one unnamed Met person hired me in the hierarchy, came back and said, which team do you work for, Jay? Shut the damn TV off. So Sean Ledetta has really become a good friend of mine. Told me a story a couple of years later. In the middle of the Giants games, when the Redskins completed a long pass downfield, the crowd went crazy. And then it happened once or twice, and finally he said that Phil Simms looked up at the scoreboard, and he saw that
they put the Mets score up.
The Mets won.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. But probably a lot of my stories are about my good friend Johnny Franco. I know he's a good friend of yours. Johnny used to torment me, Mike. I mean, one thing, digress 1 second. I've always been able to laugh at myself. I can.
Yes.
And so he used to, every practical joke in America he'd play on me. We're on the plane. He would put white out on my glasses when I walk. I could, my eyes are not great anyway. I thought I couldn't see. He would cut my ties. He would tie my work bags to get to the seat. Probably the 2 best jokes he played on me were, we were in a hotel, the Biltmore in L.A. He goes up to my room. He unscrews a horse head from the lobby, brings it up to my room, puts ketchup on my pillow, shuts the lights off my room. When it got back up to the room, I thought it was a dead horse in my bed. Another time, he and Brett Saberhagen, they tied me up. We were in St. Lucie. He and Brett Saberhagen tied me up on a stretcher, put me on a pitcher's mound in St. Lucie, and put like peanuts on my chest, and the ducks came down and ate the peanuts off my chest. But you know what? That's what it is. I mean, I was able to, get along with the guys, and they knew I could take a laugh, and they knew that I would.
And you got them anything they needed. I mean, you were unbelievable. Whatever they wanted. I mean, you were unbelievable. How you would find them whatever they needed in town. I don't care what it was. You were able to get it.
You know what, Mike? It really is good. Like I have a new job with the alumni. I call the guys. Everybody picks the phone up. Nobody.
You were great to these guys. You really were.
Yeah, they don't dodge my bullets or anything. But when it worked, the story was with Bobby Valentine. Was still a close friend with the mustache. We're playing Toronto at Shea Stadium, and he gets kicked out of the game. So he goes back into the locker room and puts on a mustache and. Finally, you throw him out again, and he pays a $5,000 fine. But I've had a lot of good times, Mike. Really, to be in one place, with Jeff and Fred really taking good care of me. They found me a new position, and I enjoy what I'm doing. I would letting the alumni know we give a damn, and it's pretty good.
Hey, you are part of the Met family. We're talking with Jay Horwitz, who started with the team in 1980. He's a beloved figure with the team. His book is Mr. Met, about his years with the team. The Mets have had their good moments, their bad. We've always said the Mets could mess up anything. We know that. That's part of their charm. But they've had a lot of big moments and a lot of big stars. What guy, who got to the point where, from a PR standpoint, I mean, you had big guys. You had Gooden. You had Strawberry. You had, obviously, Piazza. You had
David and Gary Carter.
Absolutely. So you had Keith and everything else. So at what point, was it Doc in his heyday? Was it Straw in his heyday? Who was it? Piazza? Who was the guy where it was just overwhelming how much there was you had to do with the guy because of who he was?
Well, I can start at the beginning. Probably the worst mistake I made, Mike, and I said this in a book, my career, when we got Darryl, and he came up May 6th in '83. He was the Black Ted Williams, #1 draft pick, and we made everything. We said yes to everything. You have a small paper in Pennsylvania. God, he had a half hour with Darryl, and I really, looking back, is one of the worst mistakes I ever made was. Was saying yes to everything, and we made it better when Doc came up the year. We had a little program that he would only talk, the day after he pitched, and only one interview a week. You remember a writer for the Boston Herald, Lee Montdale?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah.
So I almost got to a fist fight with him down in Florida because he came 2 days before Dwight pitched. I wouldn't let him talk to him. I wouldn't let him talk. I said, this is the rules we have. So he called me a plastic plexiglass German general or something like that. And I wouldn't, I try to let the guys know that I would go to bat for them. You know what I mean? I try to go the extra mile. I was there. I was their protector.
They're protected. You know how many times in my life I got a call in the morning? Mike, listen. Just don't go crazy on my guy today. Please, just listen. Here, how many times? 1,000?
More than 1,000. Yeah. And Mike Piazza was different. When we got Mike, we were okay. We were starting to turn it around. And Mike, he became a superstar. I mean, it was like traveling with a rock star. We got him in May. I mean, the coverage came, the national guys came. And if you remember, Mike, he didn't get off to a good start with us.
No.
I really didn't think that he would stick the whole time with us, but Mike was he wants to himself a lot. I mean but finally,
Mike was let's be honest. I like Mike a lot. Mike was moody. He was tough.
He was with a cat. Yeah, he was moody, and I try to let him know I was there for him. I try to only ask him like important things to do, and we got along okay, and when he hit the home run in 9/11 game. Everybody says, which is your high point? 86 was great, but the really kind of thing I'm the proudest of, Mike, is the way the organization, took to the place in 9/11. I think, starting from the ownership to Bobby V.
Yeah, you guys did a lot. I mean, you did. You guys were like a waste station out there. You guys were like a delivery station, and you guys, everything happened, and it was loaded and unloaded outside for you guys. You guys were in the middle of everything there. You really were.
And we didn't do it for cameras. We just did it for we just did it to visit the firemen, visit the policemen, and we did it the right way. It was probably, '86 was a great thing, but probably. The guys, we had a lot of stuff going on legally around that time. Probably one of the toughest times was, in '87 when, Dwight had to check himself.
Oh, sure.
But he's really
such a nice guy, though, Gooden.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He and Darryl, Darryl's become a minister with his wife, and he's going around the country, speaking to the kids about the evils of opioids, I keep in contact with them all, Mike, and Mookie and the whole rest. It was probably closer to that team than any other team because my age, I was just out of college at that point, and so we used to be a bond together. It's just pretty remarkable team what that team did. And we had business from Mike Tyson that year. I don't know if you remember, like Ray Knight probably got thrown out about 5 or 6 games for fighting, and you remember the one fight in Cincinnati?
Oh, yeah. Well, Ray and I got in a lot of fights.
Yeah, and so Mike Tyson saw the stuff in the paper about all the fights, and he wanted to visit Darryl and Doc and Ray. He would come down, but people hated us at that. We were we were very boastful and.
Oh yeah, your '86 team was cocky, no question. Yeah. You got
with Davey,
Yeah. Well, it was definitely Davey. Let's be honest.
My best Davey Johnson story was a strike year in '81. I'm going down to Jackson, Mississippi to see Davey, and I was going to be the big guy. I was going to take the whole staff out to dinner. So we're sitting in a steak place in Jackson, Mississippi. There's about 12, 15 of us. So the check comes, $500, $600, whatever it was. I lost my wallet. So I got Davey. I say, Davey, listen, I gotta, you're gonna have to pick this up. I'll get it back to you. Typical New Yorker, but Davey, Davey was a smart guy. But I tell you what, he preceded all the analytical stuff. He did all the computer stuff, and he was, he's. I think he should be. Do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame, Mike, at some point?
He's a good manager. I tell you, he thought he was smarter than anybody. Davey and I had a tough, as you know, we had a tough time. Davey and I never got along. He liked dog. He didn't like me. But we fought Bobby and I fought, but we made up and turned out to be friends. But boy, Davey and I never got along. Never got along. You had some nice guys. It's funny. I saw when you said about Art Howe. I was telling people that, the Moneyball book, the Moneyball movie makes Art Howe out to be like a jerk. Art Howe was like the nicest guy in the world. When he was the manager here, he was the easiest manager we ever dealt with.
Yeah. And Mike, we didn't have good teams at the time.
No, and he didn't have a good team. But you know how hard it was sometimes with Dog and I dealing with your manager. You know how hard it was. Yeah. Art Howe was the nicest guy in the world.
He was such a delight to deal with. He never once lost his temper, never cursed, never any expletives, and he was very patient. It just didn't work out. I actually was able to text back and forth with him. He's home now.
Yeah, I heard he got out of the hospital, so good for him. I'm glad to hear it. Jay, there's in all these guys. Now, I know how you are. I know how positive you are. You would never say. I told people this before you came on. I said Jay would never say a bad thing about anybody. It's just not his way. It's impossible. But they tried to squeeze it out of the book. Did you write about anybody, and is there anybody who you just, no matter what you did, you couldn't get along with who was a player? Was there any player that you'll admit to that you couldn't get along with in your years with the Mets?
You're laughing when I tell you. Probably Frank Tavares, Mike.
Frank Tavares? Really? Why?
No, I was new. I started in my first year there, and I just couldn't. I'm like, I don't want to sound like.
I know you wouldn't be. Listen, I know how you are. Jay doesn't like to ever say anything bad about anybody. They probably asked you that. There had to be one guy in all these years. Listen, I know how hard Harvey was. I know Harvey was a tough guy to get along with. We all know that.
Mike, I kind of feel bad for Mike. For Matt. When he first started, he would listen to me and would guide him and things. And then the Sports Illustrated cover came, and the Dark Knight thing. And he became hooked himself up with some other PR people who I just didn't agree with what
And they just wouldn't listen. And he became very difficult.
And they put him on the cover of certain things. And,
Yep.
I try to say, Matt, just be patient.
Yep.
It'll come to you, But he's a good guy. Listen, the guy's 31 years old. I really and truly hope he gets the break.
So do I.
Place,
Hey, listen, he had a chance to be a great player, but he was, let's be honest, he was tough those last couple of years. He really was.
He was, and he just, stuff happened to him, like when he missed a game.
They couldn't figure out what was going on with him. They thought something was wrong with him. They were banging on his door and everything.
Yeah.
But tell me this. Tell me about Frank Tavares. What happened with Frank Tavares?
I asked him to do a couple interviews with one of the local Queens papers, and it was on a Friday, and he said, I can't do it. I'm in mourning now. My grandfather died. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, I came back. Frank, are your mourning period over? Well, I can't do it anymore because my grandfather died. Frank, how many times did your grandfather die? He died twice. But he just wouldn't do anything. He was one of the stars of the team, back then when we started. And he just wasn't very accessible to do stuff with. But I know he's one of your favorite. One of my favorite guys, Terry Collins.
What a great guy. It's amazing. When I first heard that Terry Collins got the job, I did not know him from a hole in a wall.
Yeah.
And people were saying, oh, players can't stand him. Tough guy to get along with. They hate him in Houston. He was probably the best guy. I don't know anybody there who didn't worship the guy. The guy was unbelievable.
I wonder what would happen. What would happen if in the ninth inning in the game, the fifth game of the World Series, 2015.
Yep.
If Matt gets out of the inning that inning, what would have happened?
Been a whole. Listen, it might have been different for both of them. Very different.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
After the game, how Mike, the losing manager in that game is the toughest interview to do for a PR
no
guy,
question.
For the manager, the toughest interview. And I went in, I sat for a little bit. I said, Terry, we got to go out there. And he went out there and he said, listen, I went with my gut and I went with my heart, not my head. And I would have. He still thinks he would have done the same thing.
I tell you something. I wanted him to do it, so I'm not backing off. And so did everybody in the building want him to do it. So, I was in the building, and everybody went crazy when he went back out to the mound. The only thing I had a problem with is I would have got him out after the first batter. That was the only thing. So, you know what? But it's water under the bridge. But he was the nicest guy in the world. We're talking with Jay Horwitz. His book comes out tomorrow, Mr. Met. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, about all his years, starting in 1980, and he's still there with the team now, so he's been there forever. And he has been an integral part of every day of Met history since, and has been a part of every player. Is there one guy, like you just had an incredible... Like he's like family. You mentioned Franco, but is there one guy who you're just incredibly close to, even closer than everybody? I know you got a million guys, they love you. Every player loves you. But, is there one guy that you just have an amazing, he's like family to you, that you have an amazing relationship with?
Probably, Johnny would be really 1 or 1A, and David would be 1 or 1A. Johnny used to invite me to his house, out in Staten Island for family dinners, and we used to go there all the time and eat. And he played Santa Claus for 14 straight years.
Yep.
And one time I went out to his house, and he lived out in Staten Island at the time, and I got lost going to his house, which is not unusual for me. And I banged into a tree, and I never told him. I left my license plate was on his front lawn. And the next day he called me and said, "What did you do? Who did you hit?" And I just told him, I had an accident. But David's become a really good friend. When all the times he was rehabbing, I go down to North Carolina, to Virginia for his charity tournaments all the time, and it's really I've been fortunate. To sing our guy, Mookie doesn't live here, but I speak to Mookie a lot because Johnny is local. He and his wife Rose, he still does a lot of great stuff with the police and stuff like. But Johnny and David probably are the top 1, 2. It is more, Al Leiter. I don't want to really slight anybody.
And deGrom wrote the foreword for the book.
He did, and I kind of had you know what? And I gotta, to be honest with you, the publisher came to me and said, "Who do you have a good relationship with on the current team?"
Right, they want someone who's current for the book. That's why.
That's what they
Yes,
wanted.
yes.
So I went to deGrom, and he sat in the dugout with Steve Kepman, who wrote the book and wrote the forward. And Jacob and I had a lot of back and forth. When he first came up with the Yankee, with the Subway Series, he wasn't supposed to be a starter. He was supposed to go to the bullpen. So I talked to him after the game. He said, "Jacob, listen, I've been around here a long time, and the only thing I ask you just tell the truth. If you pitch good, tell me you pitch good. If you pitch bad, don't run." And he would kind of like bust my chops in going years forward. Like they have this basketball game in the middle of the locker room. He said, "Jay, I'll do an interview for you if you make a basket." So I don't have really good coordination. I would sit there with the whole team cheering for me. I would make a basket. Okay, let's do the interview. He always did the interviews. He said, next time, he said, "Well, I'll do the interview for you if you go out in the field, hit me and Stephen Matt's fungos." So I went out in the field like a schlump, and I had Stephen Matz and Jacob fungos with everybody watching. But you know what? Those two guys, they never said no to me. And that's what I used to do to try and develop a relationship with these guys and let them know I was willing to be one of the guys. It's so important, Mike. In the locker room, it's a different atmosphere, as you well know. If you take stuff seriously, you won't survive there. You got to be able to have the thick skin and let them know you take a joke and be one of the guys. In my age, I'm always over 70 when Jacob came up, and I let him know I could still putz around or play wiffle ball with him or do stuff, and that's why Jacob was. And when he came up, and I mean, really, what he's done in his career is remarkable. I can't remember where he ducked anybody or ducked an interview or did anything. He just stood there, took, one run a game, no runs a game. He never said no, and I think you hope he gets back in order. I think his success is still way ahead of him too.
Yeah, I mean, and you had some odd teams too. When you think about some of the guys you had to deal with at times, who were different, like Ricky Henderson. You had to deal with for a while. He was different. You had Vince Coleman Vince Coleman, right? Saber Hagen. You had a lot of different veterans at different times.
Vince Coleman. I met Vince for the first time in the '85 World Series when he got wrapped around the top.
Remember that? The top attacked him. Remember that?
Yeah, and Vince, can I say once Vince Coleman story?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're before one of Dwight starts in 1990. Vince was actually warming up with his golf club, and he hit him in the shoulder with a golf club, and he couldn't pitch that night. And we decided, I was part of this thing, we were just going to say that Dwight had a sore arm. So I guess somebody in the clubhouse squealed. So the next day in the Post, I had a picture of Vince Coleman swinging a golf club next to Dwight. So the secret came out. I guess the one thing I learned in all my time here, you can't lie.
Tell the truth, because somebody's going to leak it anyway.
And it catches up. Your credibility catches up with you, and you just can't do it. I've tried. Maybe sometimes I didn't tell the whole truth, but I really tried not to lie. Ricky was really a joy to work with, Mike. He always spoke in the third person. I mean, he always. We would go down in Florida, and he would say, "Ricky, do you want to sign some autographs?" He said, "Ricky, don't sign autographs on Monday. Tell the people Ricky will be back signing autographs on Tuesday." And he was great with the young kids, Mike. He tutored the kids. He was great in the locker room. I think one time, he didn't run a ball out. I forget why we got rid of him when we got rid of him. I mean, he didn't run a ball out or something in the field. But he was, the great Ricky Henderson story with John Oliver, right?
Tell me.
I think it was 2000, when John Oliver was in Seattle, and Ricky went to Seattle, and Scott Lawrence, our trainer, promulgated a story that when Ricky got to Seattle, he went over to Oliver and said, "Hey, John, I used to play with a guy who wore a helmet like that with the Mets. Do you know who that was?" And John said, "Ricky, that was me." But that wasn't the truth, though. They just made that up. But then we had this thing with Ricky and Bobby both playing cards through the middle of the the playoff game wasn't real good. That wasn't the.
Yeah, I met Ricky liked to play cards. We all know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ricky, everybody liked to play cards.
Yes,
but it was good. I mean, I've been fortunate, Mike. I really work with a lot of good managers, and I don't know, to this day.
Well, that's the one bit of advice, though. Isn't that true, though, Jay? That the one thing you've tried to get across to these guys when they're young is to be in front of your locker and don't run away from the bad game. Don't
run away. And David, that's why you know who was probably one of the best guys at doing that was Mike Piazza. When he was with us the 1 year, he didn't have a great year, but he was such a tutor to the younger guys, and and he told them what to do, and like David from the get-go. David was like, look at the stuff that Darryl and Dwight got into. Why are they still so beloved with all this stuff? You know what? But they never ran from anything. They always stood in front of their locker.
They won. And they won a championship. Yeah, that's the big key. You have to at least give you got to give them a World Series. If you give them that, they'll forgive anything. You got to give the fans a World Series.
In the '86 World Series, Mike, Dwight didn't have. He had 2 bad games. He didn't really pitch. And he took his medicine. And Darryl, with all the hijinks that happened with him, he stood his ground and talked. But we had a great locker room. And Keith was the captain, and he had Ray Knight and Bachman and Wally and Kevin Mitchell was a captain.
I got one who had to be a handful. McReynolds.
Yeah, Kevin really did acclimate himself well to New York. We're in St. Louis, and I think he hit for the cycle.
He was a good player, but he did not belong in New York.
No, Mike, he got dressed quicker than anybody.
He was gone, but he was out in a lot before the game was over.
Yeah, he one time in St. Louis, I think hit for the cycle, had 5 RBIs, and before I could get to him, he was gone. He had left. But there's one thing I always try to tell the guys with David and all the guys is that if you do well, stand in front of your locker. If you do bad, and like guys like Ventura, they were Robert used to hate it to stand in front of his locker when he had a good game. He was always there when he had a bad game. But I mean, that's the main thing. It's not that hard. If you keep guys waiting, they're more apt to write a bad story about you. But that's why deGrom was right from the kick. He got it, Mike, and he was a guy. He wasn't the top prospect when he came up. He was, he was supposed to go to the bullpen. A couple people got hurt. He wound up starting against the Yankees that day. Pitched 7 shutout innings, and history is.
And if the team ever knew, or they would give you a raise, how many times did you try to get myself or Dog and myself to just lay off you guys when things were bad, where you'd say, please, I'd get a call. I'd know in the morning, 9 o'clock, the phone would ring, and it would be, listen, let's talk. Mike, listen, you got to give me a break today. You got to give, Mike, you got to give me a break. I know what's going on. You got to give me, Jay, I can't take, Mike, you got just today. You just got to give me a break. How many times? 1,000?
Well, maybe 999 times. Like, hey, Mike, can I say one thing again? Not to sound like a PR guy, maybe I am. I know you have a good relationship with Jeff, and I just take the opportunity to say this. He gets a bad rap a lot of times, and I wish the people knew, how much he does care. A couple of things I want to, when Gary was sick so Gary died in February of Carter in 2012. So he chartered a plane. His plane. We were down there. We sat with him. We sat with him, talked with him, let him know we care. That you need Gary, and the other thing, and I know, Mike, I know all of the stuff you did for Shannon Ford, who passed away a couple of years ago.
Well, don't talk about what I did. That's not important.
Well, you did, Mike. People should know that.
No, they don't need to know that. Listen, you're the one who spearheaded it. I was happy to help. I was happy to help.
Of people who helped, and Jeff took such good care of her.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And listen, you know what happened? It's very hard, and you know this, because you know a lot of times when these things happen that you and I would talk, or the 3 of us would talk, or whatever, and, I can say that now, but it's hard when you're an owner's son. It's very hard, because people think, first of all, you were lucky you inherited everything and this and that. It's a very hard place to be as a second generation owner. It's not easy. Number one, and people. They get a certain perceived notion about someone, and that's just the way it is. Now, you and I know another side of Jeff because we've seen it. I mean, I've seen it too. I have. So I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen it, with you a million times. I mean, I've seen Jeff do a lot of charitable things. I've seen you do a lot of charitable things. We've done a lot of charitable things together that we don't talk about. So, but that's the idea. We don't want to talk about them. That's not the idea. But so we've done a lot of those through the years. But, I mean, no one, there's never been a guy. And listen, you had a little different relationship with me than some PR guys did. I've had other guys I was close to, but you would never have a problem. They always used to say to me, "Oh, Jay's going to call you up and try and talk you off the ledge today." I'd be like, "Oh, Jay's on the phone. It's 20-1. Jay's on the phone." I'd be like, "Jay, Mike, listen."
You're always fair with us, and I like
listen, but then listen. Some days yes, some days no. But the point of the matter is, you were always there, doing what you're supposed to do, protect your players. And this. Hey, you put me in a room with Wright, and I had a bad feud. Remember that time in spring training? We were down that room for an hour and a half, he and I fighting. I mean, so when that was early on. Davey and I, Bobby and I, and David Wright and I had a big to do, which we cleared the air, which is rare, but we really did clear the air with that one, David and I. But you were very good at always. You were very good at always making sure those things got worked out.
But Jeff, for 1 second, people think, he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. When I was in a regular PR guy, I was in the office maybe to beat the traffic like 6:30, 7 o'clock. Jeff was here at 7:15, and he wasn't, coasting. Didn't take a vacation. Even when he was on vacation, he would always return calls. But it's just the stuff that, before Tom got sick, he took Howie Rose and I. We had a meeting, went out to the vineyards to see Tom before he got sick, and Jeff laid out what we wanted to do and to stay in touch. So he does have he does have a really kind side. He doesn't like to show it, Mike. He doesn't like to take credit for stuff what he does, and if he's listening now, which I didn't tell him he was going to be on, probably mad at me for saying this stuff. But I just wanted to Mike, I'm going to be 75 in August. I have a job. I'm credible. I would have a good job. I still think I contribute a little bit.
You do.
So, not, have any really keep a body around for 40-plus years like he's done.
Well, listen, you're a very valuable part of that. You have been worth your weight in gold to that team. I mean, you have meant so much to that team, and you have done, an amazing job with that team through the years. You are probably the most popular PR guy in the history of this city. I mean, people love you.
Well,
they do.
I love my job. I never, I was a lousy athlete, and one of the things to have in a book, Mike, can I say one thing? I know people didn't have the book. So one of the other reasons I wanted to write the book, one reason we talked about, I wanted to keep Shanna's legacy alive. So I have a chapter on her and what she went through. And so the other thing, when my mother was pregnant with me a long time ago, my mother got German measles. So make a long story short, I was born with glaucoma. I had born with a blue eye and a green eye. I was subject to a lot of ridicule in growing up. They made fun of me. I was blind in my right eye. So I'm in the 6th grade, and the doctor, I went to Columbia Presbyterian, he says to me, you got to take your eye out, because if you don't, it's going to spread to the other eye. So when I was about 11 or 12 years old, I have an artificial right eye. I've never really said this publicly to anybody, because I would say, yeah, well, I can only see light. I'm mostly blind in my right eye. I've had a glass eye since I was 7 years old almost. And I was always embarrassed to say that. I didn't want, I don't know why. To find when I decided to write the book, you know what, maybe I could get a message across to some people, some kids, that if you're not born perfectly, if you have this or that, you can make something of your life. That's part of the thing I talk about in the first chapter, Mike, that, you have to, you just make adjustments to get through life. And sports has been a great thing for me. It's enabled me to get involved with sports. Like when I played Little League ball, I was a horrible player. the only time I could able to hit the ball, I used to bunt all the time.
You can't see. How are you supposed to hit if you have terrible vision? You can't hit baseball.
I have one eye.
I know. How would you expect to hit?
I bunted, and my father said, if you don't swing away, I'm not going to let you play anymore. So the next game we're playing Jocks Wolf. It's an auto store in Clifton. Swung away. I hit the ball to center field. I tripped coming out of the batting box. He threw me out at first base. That was my last Little League game. I went up the field crying.
Oh.
So I went to high school. I couldn't play sports, so I became a manager. I got my senior year on Letterman's Day. I had 9 letters on my jacket. I had more letters than the starting quarterback of the football team, and that's the way I did. I used sports as a vehicle, but I'm hoping, Mike, that people read the book, they'll get a message.
They will, Jay. They will get that message, and you've had a great career. I mean, a legendary career. You've worked how many World Series and how many All-Star games and World Series have you worked in your life? 100?
Probably about 30.
About 30. You've been at everything I can. Every time I see it, when the team's not there, you're always there every year working. So I mean, you're always there.
For 2 reasons, when the Phillies beat when the Phillies won their series, I was on the mound at Veterans Stadium doing interviews with Jimmy Rollins and Jamie Moyer. And I said to him, what am I doing here? After that World Series, listen, I'm only going to do it, when the Mets get there, and one of the crazy things that happened to me I think the game was in Cincinnati, and I had to get Derek Jeter for an interview. So I'm in the American League, working the American League dugout that day. And a lot of the players were watching. They saw me walking with Jeter. They busted my chops for 2 weeks now. With Derek Jeter. But it was. I liked it. You have good camaraderie. You keep up with the national guys, and I enjoyed it. Mike, I've been working 40-plus years. I still enjoy every day.
And you've had a great career. And the book will do great. It will. Folks, it's Mr. Met. It's Amazon Books, Barnes & Noble, comes out tomorrow. Buy it, give it to the Met fan in your family or to any baseball fan in your family. And you know what? You'll hear Jay everywhere because there's no one who wouldn't let Jay do an interview. And giving me the first one, but it's the day the book comes out, I appreciate. Thank you very much. Listen, good luck with the book. I know it'll do great.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jay. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Jay Horwitz,
Bye-bye.
the book again,
Bye-bye.
Mr. Met. Okay, you can get it at Amazon. And again, I'm telling you, not only one of the nicest guys you've ever meet, I mean, he would call me up and get me involved in certain things, charitable things. And I would not turn him down, but it wasn't ever for him. It was always for somebody else. It was never anything, never once in all the years Jay called did he ever call for himself. I don't remember Jay ever calling for anything. I mean, maybe once he called for something for the Super Bowl, maybe once with the Giants. I don't even think he did. But Jay has never called. He called for players. He'd call for his assistants. He'd call for people who worked with him. He'd know of a story and this and that. We got to get involved in this charity and this and that. I'd say, okay. And can you help me with this? I'd say, absolutely. I would never turn him down. He's a wonderful man. He's one of the wonderful men I've met in this business. He's a great guy, and he's made listen, any kid who's struggling, think about what Jay went through, and he's had a great career, and he's spent his whole life in the major leagues, and people love him. This whole city loves him. So just realize what a great career he's had. Back after this.